We're back out here once again, and in the past few videos, we've been talking about what colors have been so productive for me and what baits have really got me those big bites this summer. Today, we're going to put it all together, and I'm going to show you the perfect spot where you're going to find those big bass. And best of all, you can fish this area whether you're fishing from the boat or whether you're fishing from the bank. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. Come here, you. I got you. Oh, that's not a bad one. That's not a bad one, kids. He's running with it. Oh, I can see him in this clear water. Where are you going? Oh, get out of that hydrilla. Look at that beautiful fish. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And in the last few videos, we've been talking about bait selection, choices that are sort of non-standard that you might throw out there to show those bass something a little bit different. And we've been pairing that with some non-standard colors, some colors you may not be thinking about. Again, we're trying to show those bass something different. And on those heavily pressured fisheries, or when those bass may not be in such an active mood, we can use their innate curiosity to keep them interested in our baits, to not only attract them, but get them to bite. If they can't do it out of hunger, then we'll get them to do it out of curiosity. And we've talked about the baits and the colors that work very well for doing that. We stand out against the background, and we are different from what other anglers are throwing. A lot of times it's a more quiet presentation, which works great on a heavily pressured fishery. Now, we're going to kind of tie everything together. We're going to wrap it all up, and I'm going to talk to you about a perfect place to use these techniques. These are places that I really like to exploit, especially on those bluebird skies. And the best part about it is it's on every fishery. Every fishery that I've ever been to has this in one form or another. But before we get started, you notice that I'm wearing the Cow shirt again, right? Well, you guys did such a great job showing so much interest in this shirt that the company reached out to me again, and they've offered for viewers of this channel a discount code, which I'm going to link in the description below, 10% off these shirts. And thank you so much for the support you've given this channel and for this shirt. You know, you guys recently got this channel over 5,000 subs. We're growing, and we're growing fast, and I have you guys to thank for it. But back to what we were talking about. In the summertime, we've talked about most of the lake being dead water, especially on a bluebird sky day when there's not a lot of wind, not a lot of wind-driven current, not a lot of cover or whatnot. But that's because those bass, they're holed up in predictable places. And if you know where those places are, you can exploit that. And today we're talking about one of those types of places. It's right along the bank, so anyone can fish it, whether you're fishing from the bank or you're fishing from the boat. And the object is pretty much the same. See, along the bank, you're going to find all that vegetation, right? You're going to find a whole bunch of cover, especially on a pressured body of water that has a lot of boat traffic. You get a lot of vegetation that's chopped up by those boat props, and the current pushes it right to the side. It gets pushed right up under flooded brush that's near the bank. So we have flooded brush that those bass like to hide under. We've also got some vegetation, some mats that have been pushed there, and then we've got some natural vegetation that's already growing in that area, whether it's milfoil, whether it's grass, whether it's hydrilla. And we want to find that hard edge that runs along that area, especially now if it's got a good drop off, if it goes to deeper water. Bass love hard edges. It's one of their defining characteristics. And if you can find hard edges that offer things those bass are seeking out, I'm telling you, there will be bass in that area, and chances are they're going to be very nice bass. Today, I went out to the water and I looked exactly for those places, and the Big Lake has quite a few areas like this, so it wasn't hard to find. Took out the trusty old Waco rig, because that's what I wanted to fish in those areas. Black and blue cream worm, nothing fancy. I'm not using anything fancy. I'm not using anything special. And I went to work and I had a really good day, especially when I landed this giant. All right, we've got a black and blue flake cream worm tied on, and we're working a good old Waco rig. Slide it right in that little gap right there. The spot within the spot, right? That's what you're looking for. It's what they say. The spots within the spots. Come here, you. I got you. Oh, that's not a bad one. That's not a bad one, kids. He's running with it. Oh, I can see him in this clear water. Where are you going? Oh, get out of that hydrilla. Look at that beautiful fish. Come here, you. Oh, look at that giant. Look at that giant bass on the Waco rig. That is a 4-pound plus monster right there, kids. I had him good, exactly where he was supposed to be, right in that spot where I was talking about. And that's what you call beautiful. And just to satisfy the curiosity of a bunch of people, I'm going to put him on the scale, because yes, I do keep a scale with me. I have been told that I'm always bad at guessing, that it's just a guess, but this fish is a pretty good sized fish. He may be this year's PB, although probably not. That spinnerbait fish was probably bigger. All right, where are we at? Three 3.83. So not quite 4. Beautiful fish. That is a gorgeous. Nope. You and me are going on Instagram together, buddy. You and me are going on the Instagram together. That was an amazing fish. Caught it on light tackle, fishing a black blue flake cream stickworm. Nothing fancy, right? And it was right where I expected it to be. It was right in that bush. So I'm going to go out on the water and I'm going to show you just exactly what it is I'm looking for. I'm going to show you the details of the spots that I'm looking for, why they're effective, why the bass like hiding out there, and some spots that might look similar, but you want to go right by them. So let's go ahead, let's head out to the water, and let's take a look at these places and how I am fishing them. All right, still working with that spook. We're trying to work this weed edge here. We've got a weed edge right here along the bank. We've got some flooded brush. And it's got a hard line as that water gets deep and drops off. And that's kind of where we want to work. We want to work on that hard edge right there. You can do this from the bank. You can do this from your boat. This is a great place. And the thing about it is most lakes have something like this in some form or another. It could be a gravel patch, but you're going to have your overhanging brush, you're going to have a good drop off, and then you'll have where it just ends. And right along those seams, right along those hard lines, remember, bass love hard edges. It's one of their defining traits. It's what helps us predict where they are setting up, especially on sunny days. You know, like right in the back of there, right? You'd look at that and say, oh yeah, that looks very bassy. So of course you got to make some casting of that, right? I mean, there was a lot of pressure today. You may want to go with something that's a little bit more subtle along here. It doesn't have to be something loud like a spook or a buzz bait or a spinner bait or a chatterbait. You may want to go with something like a swim jig. A swim jig can also be a great presentation through here. But these are the types of places that I'm targeting during the summertime. Especially as we get shadow that's coming across the water. You know, we can make casts to that timber. See how far I can work this up. Yeah, before I get hung in the gunk. There I got a little gunk on my tail that kills the action of that buzz spook. But anyway, that's just something to consider. Those are the types of places that you're going to find those summertime bass are going to congregate up shallow. Not every bass is up deep, but this is where to find those bass up shallow. You can find them right along the bank. There's a big population, a lot larger population that stays near the bank than anglers give it credit. And you can see all of this whole stretch all up and down. You can just kind of have the trolling motor going on low or have the current behind you like I do and just kind of work your way down this bank. All right, now someplace like this, I'm actually going to just pass right by. This is going to be nothing but dead water. You see, we've got the hydrilla, we've got the bank, and we've got all of that. But what we don't have is we don't have a depth. We don't have a good drop-off. You see how shallow it is? It's shallow all through here, and it stays shallow a good ways out. So bass like to have a place to escape to. They like to have that deeper water where they can kind of slink down into it if they get alarmed, if something has got their attention, that they sense something isn't right. They're going to want some deeper water to move down into. They might not panic, they might just be easing that way, but this area clearly does not have that. This is going to be the type of area that I'm going to just pass over because I know this is going to be nothing but dead water, despite how juicy it might look. So it's pretty straightforward, right? You see exactly what I'm talking about. There's some flooded brush. We've got laurel bushes here in South Mississippi, a very common plant. Those bass like those sorts of plants. They don't like all the pine because pine is very acidic. Even if you see a laydown and it's got a pine tree on it, chances are it's not going to be holding a lot of fish because bass don't like all the acidity. An oak tree or something like that, that's going to be more what they're looking for. But you've got all these laurel bushes, you've got the mat, the chopped up vegetation that's in there, and right there you've got all that hydrilla. You saw that. And with the water being so clear, you can see that there was a good drop-off. That allows those bass to drop into deeper water if they feel threatened, if they feel the need to, if there's some caution, if they feel uncomfortable and they need to reset, as it were. We also looked at some places where even though it looks like it might be choice, it's not really. You just need to keep going. Chances are very high that it's not going to be very productive. As a matter of fact, when I see those types of areas, I always keep moving because they rarely, if ever, have any fish. And the fish that they have are generally not any good. So even if you're a bank angler, these are spots that you can find along the bank. And it doesn't have to be flooded brush with vegetation. Put this to your lake. You may have a rip-rap bank, right? That may have some trash on it. And it goes down to different levels. You know, it goes a little bit deeper and gives those bass a sense of security. Something with a hard edge near the bank. You've got structure, you've got cover near the bank. That is a hard edge that falls away towards deeper water. And deeper water is relative. It may just be a couple of feet difference. But to those bass, it gives them that comfort. It gives them that security that they're looking for. And it's a great place to fish. It's an amazing place to fish. You know, a lot of times we target the backs of dams, right? We've got natural dirt dams in a lot of these man-made reservoirs, man-made impoundments, and you see guys fishing the backside of those. That's always a great place to start. What am I using? Well, today I use the Waco rig, but you can use topwater. A spook is a great way to work over the top of that seam, or a buzzbait, or maybe you want to do a spinnerbait. or a chatterbait. Those are all great ways to cover water and work along that seam. And if you're fishing from the bank, you don't have to fish in that mat. What I'm doing is I'm casting before that mat, not into it, because those bass are turned facing outward into the sun. We've seen videos of this before. My guy, Steve Rogers, he's shown videos of what those bass are doing. And to my fellow YouTubers, Steve Rogers, Bass Geek, and whoever else might be watching, I implore you, I'm challenging you, give the Waco rig a try if you haven't. I would be very interested to see what you have to say about it, what you think about it. But a lot of guys have given me some really good feedback on it, and they say it's a really good thing, but I'd be interested to see what you guys think about it as well. Either way, those are the places that I'm looking for. Simple to find, every lake has it. You might have to translate it a little bit, transpose it a little bit to your particular body of water, but it's not that hard. Remember, hard seams, you might have riprap bank, and you might have vegetation right there in the water, and it might slip away to a little bit deeper water. Those hard edges are great. You might have some vegetation, and you might have a submerged creek channel that goes through there. That's another great example, especially if it's a little bit more offshore, but they can happen closer to shore, as I've shown in a previous video where a creek channel was right next to the bank, a submerged creek channel. That's rare. Not everybody might have that, but you may have something similar where you're going to have a little bit more of a drop off. But the point is, why we talk about weed edges and why riprap banks are so productive is because that's where the fish hide out. Bass like hard edges. And if you can remember that, you find those spots along the bank where you're going to get those layers of edges, and then you're going to get that drop off into the water. I'm telling you, those are going to be your bassy spots. Look inside those spots. Find the spot within the spot, right? Look for a little dugout. Maybe it sticks out a little bit more here. Maybe it's a little bit thinner and goes back up more toward the bank there. Those are going to be your spots that are going to be your high percentage areas. So those are the places that I'm going to target first. And even if you're a bank angler, it's easy to make those casts out beyond that and bring it back to you. You can work any number of presentations. It doesn't have to be a Waco rig or a wacky rig. You can use something like a swim bait or spinner bait just fine. It'll work out well for you. And as summer moves along and you find more of these places and you're able to put that puzzle together, you're going to find that you're ending up catching a lot more fish than you thought you could. So there you have it. Not only do we have the right baits and the right colors that will help us get the biggest bites during the summer, we now have a great place to use them to get those big bass. And the best part is, there is a version of this on every single fishery in America. Try it out. I'm pretty sure you're going to like the results. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.